Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'll read the land acknowledgement at the town of Trenton. We acknowledge that we are Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This land is governed by the treaties of peace and friendship just signed by the Mi'kmaq. We reside in the Pictou Landing First Nation, which is governed by a chief and 5 council. I also want to acknowledge that this is African Heritage Month. I would like to acknowledge that the significance of the month. This year, African Heritage Month embraces the provincial theme, Legacy in Action, celebrating Black brilliance. The theme celebrates the enduring legacy of Black Nova Scotians, paying tribute to the community's resilience, achievements, and impact throughout history. I would also like to note that council members are wearing the kente cloth pins for tonight's meeting. Kente cloth is a powerful symbol of African unity and heritage. Thank you. Right now, we'll call for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Have a seconder?
I'll second.
Are concerns about the agenda? Then I'll approve the agenda if presented. We have a presentation here from MLA Danny McGilvery. Danny, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Be kind of short and sweet, but I just wanted to thank Mayor Dodd and councillors for inviting me this evening, and the CEO Grover. As mentioned, I am the new MLA here in Pictou Centre, so that includes Stallerton, Trenton, and Glasgow. I did a lot of campaigning in Trenton during the election itself, and did a lot of door knocking, a lot of great conversation with residents of Trenton. So I just want to give you a quick, just introduce myself as MLA, and also the ministerial assistant. So the way the new government's doing it this time is for each ministry there's a ministerial assistant. So for municipal affairs, myself, the minister is John Lore. So I'll be helping him carry out his duties as minister. So I think it's a great fit. My previous experience in the town of Stallerton. So I'm there for the town of Trenton, and anything I can do for you guys as far as municipal affairs is concerned, let me know. I'll definitely work on your behalf. I did meet with Mayor Dodd and CEO Grover on February 5th to give a little bit of an overview of what the government's plans are. As we know, the first term was really focused on healthcare. That's going to remain a focus, but we also want to focus a lot on economic development. Due to some reasons such as the geopolitical climate right now with the tariffs being threatened with tariffs, potential new federal governments could affect transfer payments. We want to make sure the Nova Scotia is set up for success in that manner, that we can stand on our own 2 feet. Been a have-not province since 1957. So we want to get back to where we're looking after ourselves again. So that's going to be the focus of this government going forward for the next 4 years. Part of that's natural resource extraction, so we're going to look at mining again, things like that, forestry, fishing, farming, the basic industries, but also mining as well. There's some banned stuff right now in uranium and a few other areas. We're going to look at maybe lifting those bans, at least having a discussion about possibly mining those resources. So yeah, I just want to give you a quick update like that about what the government's looking for the next 4 years. That I'm available to serve you guys at your convenience as far as either as your MLA or as a ministerial assistant for municipal affairs. I'd be more than happy to try to help the town of Trenton. I have a lot of connection to the town of Trenton. My first real job was Trenton Works in 1998. As a cost and budget coordinator down there then. Dad taught high school here for 25 years, so I have a connection to Trenton besides being the MLA for Trenton. It's one of the 3 towns I do represent, but I also have a personal connection as well on a number of levels. So Anyway, I'd be happy to help you guys out in any way I can, so I just want to make that offer to you, introduce myself as new MLA, and thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvery. Anybody have any questions to Mr. McGilvery on his new role? Hearing none, Mr. McGilvery, thank you for coming down to see us this evening.
Thank you very much for your time. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stick around if you like there, Mr. McGilvery.
I had a busy couple of days on the weekend, so I think I'll go home. And I've been home since about a week ago, so I'm going to head home and get in my hot tub.
Thanks for your time. We're going to move on the agenda then, ladies and gentlemen. We have a presentation from Amy Winchester, CBCL Asset Management Overview. Amy, you have the floor.
With
Truro. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and so then, the town had reached out to CPCL, and so we kind of came in and then picked up where Oliver left off and continued on some of the work, so I'll explain a little bit of the nuances. I just wanna make sure he gets credit, some of the stuff in my presentation is definitely taken from the work that Oliver had done. The good thing, I guess I will say, is because asset management has this formalized set of procedures and approaches,
it's the time of day, cause
Just,
when
just
I-
a busy time.
You have to be, what's that, sorry?
we lost you for a second there,
Just for about 30 seconds, Amy.
yeah.
Okay. What did I finish saying?
You were just starting with the level of service number 1.
Okay. So level of service is all about what the service that your assets provide. Some of the level of service would be regulation based. So your water assets, when you provide potable drinking water to your customers, your citizens, it needs to meet the Canadian drinking water quality. But you're always gonna get complaints. You're gonna have water main breaks.
Well, Amy, thank you for starters for that presentation. It was a lot for me. I don't know about any other the councilors here, but anybody here have any questions to Amy on her report? Yeah, and Alan is here also, so.
I got a question on level of service. Like, I know a couple of residents on one of the streets, anytime we have a heavy rain, their basements flood because the water's not being directed properly and the piping is probably not big enough. And the manholes actually come off the road in front of their properties. If level of service, shouldn't somebody like that be looked after, be a priority? And who would make that decision?
I can answer that, or Alan, or Elena. I don't wanna interrupt anybody.
No, please, go ahead.
Okay. So it would come out in the sense of, like, the way the asset management plan is a process that you're looking at everything. But in the, in the level of service that you want your pipes properly sized for what they need to be doing, when you start to look at the condition of them, you can look at the condition in terms of, oh, that pipe is brand new. But that's not, you also need to consider, but is it serving, is it in a condition to serve the intent of what it's supposed to do? So if it's undersized, and I don't know what the cause is, but it's all about putting on that, thought of, is that asset doing what it's supposed to do in line with the level of service we want it to provide? And so if it's not, what should happen is, in the back end of all the data, that gets a lower rating. And so when you look at everything, that lower rating should end up identifying list of projects that are priorities. And priorities will come from assets that are not in good condition, as well as the criticality of how important they are. And so year after year, and that's why it's important to have that update happen to that data, so that then you have, when people are trying to make decisions about where does the money go, you only have so much money every year, and then you're able to look at everything and all of the ratings to help make the decision for the list of projects that happen. So there is a little bit of understanding the process of how this data goes together, but what I'm hearing from you, that they're like, it's not providing the service that you want it to provide if it's flooding, people sponsor flooding. So that can be captured in the data to lead to priorities. Now, is it top priority? I don't know, because I don't know how much money you have, and I don't know all the other projects that need to be done.
I know if we ask those people, it's top priority, but,
Absolutely.
it's important to them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but thanks for your answer. That was helpful.
But it does help you to look at it and explain to people that there is a process for how the decisions are getting made. So it's trying to get away from, the old fashioned, where you didn't know what you have and the loudest person that comes in ends up being the one whose street gets paved, where maybe there's another spot that's much more dire need that needs to get done. So it's attempting to get to a much more responsible way of hearing it, and to be able to capture somebody's concern about something. Well, there's a way to capture that. They didn't just come talk to you. That information can be captured, and it goes into this analysis in order to make decisions.
Yeah. I know one of the residents tried to get some engineering information from the town, and they said they had nothing. This was about maybe a year ago. So I would expect there'd be some information on that particular street.
Yeah,
So-
and we did a lot of work. So again, Alan might know better, but the work that was done, like when all
necessarily have looked at certain instances of backup situations, where there's kind of like an overall age, known condition, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So-
you're right, Alan. Like, the first step of these is to get you started. And usually the first step, what's that?
That's
Oh,
okay. We had a late comer.
just gonna
Go ahead,
consider-
please.
Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, like to get you started on all of this asset management stuff is, you take a lot of desktop information, a lot of available information to get it into this whole framework. Going forward, now you start to perfect it, and when you get into more details. So the first step of all this wouldn't have gone, I mean, you would have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get really into the detail, to survey every single point, and to do everything. So here, like Alan's right, like the first step was to get that all there, start to identify major things, but now you have it there, so every year you get better information.
Well, all I'm saying is there's a problem, and it should be fixed for these residents, right? I don't know if, Alan, you're the guy that went up and checked that particular street and said everything was fine?
Strickland?
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't have said everything's fine, but yeah, recognize the problem.
So you recognize there is a problem there?
People have an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
So in the coming few weeks, we'll be scheduling an asset management committee meeting. Well, we can talk about particulars on
Yeah.
next steps on what we do.
But do you recognize there is a problem on that street?
Residents say there's one, so we went and talked to them. Haven't seen it in action.
Yeah. I have a videotape, and I'll
Scott.
bring it for you.
Scott, we'll bring it up, the asset management.
Yeah, okay, I just-
Alan has
yeah.
stated that he'll bring it back to asset management, and we'll put a plan together to help those residents on the street. We all know there's an issue there, so.
Yeah, the floor was open for questions, so I'm just asking questions, you know.
Any other questions to, I'm sorry, Amy, go ahead.
All I'm gonna, I guess all I'm saying in terms of asset management is, now that there's asset management data developed, standards developed, frameworks developed, when you say there's a problem, there is a database that information can be recorded in to put that in the system, as opposed to before any of this was done, you know, somebody would be there with a notebook and write down and then go back and try to tell somebody and try to remember. There's now a framework established to better capture like that as an example of what's going on.
And the more data we get, the better we're going to get, better we're going to get at making decisions on what we need to fix and how much money we need to fix it.
That's right, that's right. It's starting to look ahead so that it's not, you know, you wanna try to move from reactive to proactive.
Any other questions to either to Amy here and I have just one. When you rank the streets, does the ranking include what's under the streets? I mean, does it include all of the assets that are underneath the street, the water, the sewer lines, the sewer mains, and so on and so forth, when they're ranked to be paved, for instance?
So, no, it doesn't. The streets will be looked at themselves, but you would then go, so then you would go and you look at, like, you have all that data at your fingertips to go, okay, now we need to look at the roads in combination of, because asset management is all about screening. If you start with so many assets, you're not gonna talk about everything. You wanna have an approach to start getting down to a better number. So once you go through that, okay, we ruled out the stuff that we know is fine for now. Now we hone into the areas we want to look at, and then you start overlapping. Okay, well, that street we might want to work on, but then there's this street. Okay, now we put the road for Santos Road, and it's all in GIS. And I don't know if you know what I mean by GIS, but it's like a Google Map interface where you can turn things on and off. And you can see it all nicely, like one glance.
Yep.
And then you can just look at everything and go, oh, okay, now that I look at all of that together, like this area probably needs more attention this year than maybe that one.
And that would go, and those decisions you'll help us with, right?
Yes.
Yeah, CBS, okay. Any other questions, Amy, on the report?
Just add to that, I guess, like, last year when we picked our streets for repaving, and I went through the reports and down the priority rankings, picked some of the top ones, and put a little list, and I cross-reference it with the sanitary and storm sewer report, and just make sure that those streets didn't have sewers on them that were in critical condition, for instance, right? So,
Which makes sense, right? You don't want to pave a street one day and 2 years later dig it up to fix something else. Okay. Any other questions to either one of these two guys here? Hearing none? Thank you. Amy, thanks for your report.
Okay.
Alan, thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna
That-
sign on. Everyone do plan out.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Alan, you're welcome to stick around too for our meeting if you like.
yeah, I'm gonna head out, I got a little bit of a drive.
I don't blame you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As soon as you're ready there on that, we'll move on there, buddy. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes, regular council minutes for January 14, 2025. Are there any corrections to note in those minutes? Any corrections? Those minutes are approved then. Reports, the Public Works report. Any questions or comments on the Public Works report? None, and I'll thank the Public Works supervisor for that report. The Water Treatment report.
Yeah, I do have a question for
Oh,
Public
sorry.
Works.
Go ahead,
Um,
Council Collins.
I've just been noticing sidewalks on the Glasgow side are paved, or plowed by, at least by 6 in the morning. I usually go for a walk around that time. And then same thing in Stellarton. I was in Stellarton around 8 o'clock. Sidewalks are all plowed. In Trenton, they don't get started till 9 o'clock. Is there, I just want to see if there's a way that we could, like, is there a reason why we're doing it so late and the other towns are
Daryl's not here to answer.
No, I
are so
can,
early?
yeah, I can follow up
Yeah.
on that piece with the Public Works Superintendent.
Okay.
But it should be noted that we do have a much smaller crew, so, and we only have one sidewalk plow going at a time, so there's not multiple sidewalk plows. There would only be one staff member assigned to a sidewalk plow for any weather event. So it would also be dependent on the severity of the event, what time did that event start, what time were they called out, or did they start working on the street? So there's always a priority for emergency routes and our main routes in town. And then it goes to, after they're clear and accessible, then it will go to, say, in front of the fire hall to make sure that's clear because of the emergency personnel that may have to leave for an event, and then sidewalks, side streets. So it all depends on timing and when they start.
Well, I just noticed because at the same time, the sidewalks around the school areas weren't touched at that time either, so kids were walking through the snow on the sidewalks, so might be something to consider.
The streets
Getting
would
that a
be
little bit earlier.
addressed around schools after almost in alignment with the emergency routes. The schools' streets would be addressed, but sidewalks would come second. So they have to address the emergency routes first.
Okay.
And
then-
you have to remember that we have 4 members in our public works staff. So
Right.
everyone has a piece, and they're doing the best they can
Yeah.
with limited resource.
And I guess getting back to the asset management thing, one of our sidewalk plows is a 2002. So that's
We
over
do have a
25 years
newer
old.
one, and then there's one that's backup. So
Oh,
there
yeah.
is an older one that's more of a backup, so they keep it maintained for backup. There's the newer sidewalk one.
okay. All right, just wanted to bring that up and make sure it was noted.
Thank you, Councilor Cullen. Any other questions on the Public Works report? Hearing none, we'll walk through the Water Treatment report. Any questions on the Water Treatment report? Hearing none, we'll thank the water treatment supervisor for his report. We'll move on to the fire report.
No. Sorry, just one
No,
further
no.
question.
Councilor Cullen, go
It is
ahead.
mentioned in the fire report. Just looking at my notes here. There's one pumper that's a 2007.
Yep.
It's hitting the 20-year-old mark. Is there a plan succession plan for that, or?
We will be addressing that during our budget discussions with council.
Okay, it's been in the past couple reports,
Yeah.
so,
They keep it there and
Yeah.
as a reminder, a
Sure.
constant reminder.
all right. I just wanted a little update on that one, so.
You notice the pricing's $750,000.
Yes, it is,
unit,
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the fire report? And I thank the chief for that fire report. The Parks and Recreation report. Any questions on the Parks and Recreation report?
I have a question. Do we charge rentals for the annex?
Yes, we do.
We do. And can we advertise for the annex, or do we?
We do, but I can follow up with the Director of Parks and Rec on that, just to see, how often that's advertised.
Right.
Just to put that out more.
Right.
So, yes, very good point.
And one more question. So the grants that have been applied for, will this be all the grants that Parks and Recreation's applying for, or will there be more to come?
There'll be more to come.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the Parks and Recreation report? Here, now we'll thank the Parks and Recreation supervisor for that report. The police report. And we have Chief Leo here this evening, if anybody has any.
Can I throw
Questions
one
on
more?
that?
Can I throw one more in for Parks and Recreation?
Yes, sir, you may. Sorry?
Congratulations to Craig Murray
Of course.
on his first
Absolutely.
child.
Congratulations
There you
from
go,
all of
Greg.
us, eh, Chief? Jack, what's the baby's name?
Babies are
Yes,
fun, man.
Yes.
Yes, so our Parks and Recreation coordinator had he and his significant other had a baby boy by the name of Jack, and welcome to the world, so. Everything is fine from what I gather, so. Let's move on to the police report, right, and as I stated, Chief Ryan Leal is here, right, to present that report to us this evening, I guess, or to at least talk to us about the report.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of context and just to talk about some other types of reporting that we could do. So where to start? One of the good things about the many databases that we use, there's a fair bit of work involved in data entry, but the good byproduct of that is being able to pull data and being able to pull it in a number of different ways and really to ask council and mayor what they would most like to see represented. So the report that's included in the package is what's referred to as a mayor's report. And my understanding, that's the report that has probably been used for several years. By comparison, I don't know, outside of Alana and Councillor Cullen, I don't know if anyone else gets to see the Police Commission report. But there are other representations of qualitative and quantitative data in there and some different examples. And last month I included a bit of a glossary or definition, if you will, to help interpret the mayor's report itself. But there are other examples of reports that we could provide if council and mayor were interested in that. And I do have a couple of examples that I did bring with me tonight that I can share if you're so interested. First being what we refer to, and I'll pass these around, and I'll just explain what they are. And I should have printed more copies, I apologize, but we can pass them around. The first one that I printed is what's called a crime statistics report. So it's a little deceiving by referring to it as crime report, whereas it includes all of the occurrences for a month. We can pull it in different ways. We could pull it quarterly, or we could pull it annually. Monthly is always a good representation. So I'll pass this around, and what it shows essentially is, and I have narrowed this down to the municipality of Trenton, whereas the police commission report is inclusive of both towns. The crime statistics report will show you when, during the month, when we're receiving calls for service, and it's broken down by day, and then it's broken down even further into 4-hour increments. So it shows you when we're responding for calls for service in the town. All sorts of good graphs and charts and percentages. So I'll pass that one around first. It's two-sided. The second report that I'm going to, and I will go back to the mayor's report, so if there are any questions on that, because there still is value in that mayor's report, so I will circle back for questions on that. The second one that I'm going to distribute is a report that takes a little bit more time, but I pull this report manually as well, and it is an occurrence statistics report, and it's just broken down into categories, and you'll see. And what I've done is I've quantified the number of calls of each call type, the overall number of calls for the month as well, and it's something that's easily digestible, so I'll just send that around to you. That one is an example of the month of December, I believe, for both towns inclusive, but again, it can be separated by municipality. And just as we're doing that, I will go to the mayor's report, and if there are any specific questions on that, we can table those now. If there are questions that help interpret that report.
Anyone have any questions to Chief Leal on the mayor's report presented to council?
I have a quick question. Maybe just for the benefit, because we do have some people maybe watching from home.
Sure.
But just the differentiation between reported, unfounded, and actual, and sort of what those mean.
So reported is any call for service. If we receive a phone call and we respond to a call for service in the community, it's also self-generated as well. So if the officers are on patrol proactively and they come across something and we generate an occurrence, so that is the overall number of, if we generate an occurrence, it's at a minimum reported. So that's the overall number. Actual, so if we establish, if there is evidence for us to determine that it actually occurred, and the opposite of that would be unfounded. So if we gather evidence to tell us, a lot of folks think unfounded means unsolved. Unfounded actually means that we collected evidence to say that it did not occur. We'll get reports of things that folks perceive may have happened. We do an investigation. We gather evidence that says that it did not occur. So I apologize that you were looking for reported, actual, unfounded, and
Just the differentiation between them, because we have seen this report for a long time.
Right.
So it's just, I mean, and this is, we're not police officers, and
Yeah.
we trust you guys to do
Absolutely.
your job.
Yep.
And I think it just is not needing the level of detail to do your job or think that we are, but what types of things are happening that inform policies, or is there, occurrences happening over and over that require like what's within our mandate of what we need to do? Is it adding a street light? Is it a bylaw that we actually need to look at? So it's more the things that are happening that should be in our bailiwick to impact, not kind of enforce the law or anything, or any of our communication tools as well that we should be enforcing. Like I know the non-emergency line comes up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I share it a lot and tell people to put it in your phone so you're not looking for it.
Right.
But stuff like that of like what we can do to support people reporting or supporting the police department or just supporting safer communities.
For sure. So we always encourage folks to report. If you're thinking whether or not you should report something to the police, chances are you probably should report it. And the direct reporting, of course, is always preferred. It's much more efficient. It's much more accurate, and it takes folks out of the equation that don't necessarily have to be there, and fully respect that we work and and live in very small communities, so folks sometimes may feel more comfortable talking to a counselor, or talking to the mayor, or talking to another employee with the town, and having their complaint or their issue directed that way, and completely understand and respect that. From a police perspective, and being able to respond in a timely fashion as well. So responding to complaints at the earliest opportunity provides us the best potential for a meaningful outcome. So having that early reporting and that direct reporting just allows us to work a little bit more efficiently and effectively to do our work typically. So breaking down some of those barriers, and that's what we ask if you're speaking to folks in community, that we encourage that reporting. You'll note that overall, solvability with things that are reported to us, certain areas are higher than others, but it's not always about the solvability. For us, it's about that data collection as well, because we need to look at it. To your point, Councillor LeBlanc, we look at trends. So we identify, are there reoccurring issues, and if there are, of course we look at our data in real time. We have shift reports that come in twice a day, so one from our day shift, one from our night shift, and we analyze that daily to see if we have any trends, or if we have any public safety issues that need to be addressed in that moment. But we also, of course, look at it monthly, and we look at it annually, and we try to identify those trends. And I'll give you an example, and it's not a municipal example, but of course, over the past number of years, we've been inundated with mental health crisis. And we were very aware of that a number of years back, and we were paying attention to the data, and we just seen that the police response to mental health crisis in community was not sustainable. So what we had to do is we had to partner with health, and we had to come up with new strategies and new programs, and we did that, and we're seeing the fruits of that labor now. So to answer your question, I can't give you a municipal example as it relates to the town of Trenton, but we do keep an eye on that data to see if there are trends, or if there are issues where other stakeholders or other partners would help us alleviate some of those reoccurring issues.
So to follow up on that then, so something silly like my kid left their bike out and it got stolen, and you think, we shouldn't have left it out, but it got stolen. But if that happens 10 times and
Right.
people aren't reporting it, we have an issue that's not being addressed. People aren't, or I left my car unlocked, someone went through it, I'm an idiot, I left it unlocked. But really, if someone's going through your vehicle, reporting that. So if it happens at my house and Scott's house and whatever, that,
Right.
So we really need to be encouraging people to be calling non-emergency to report things, like not being afraid. I guess it's sometimes people say, I know you're dealing with larger things like mental health or other issues or accidents and things, and saying me leaving my car unlocked kind of stupid, my fault, but someone went through my car. So it's still saying that we really need to be doing that so that we have that data of like what's actually happening in the community, right?
Right. It's that's an excellent point, because there's a lot of different reasons why people don't report incidents to the police or report crime to the police. The examples you gave are certainly one of those situations. And again, I go back to solvability. Unfortunately, especially with property crime, you'll note, because a lot of folks who, the MO with property crime is to do that covertly with the objective of not getting caught. So people take precautions to commit property crime, and property crime is usually noticed after the fact, usually not in the moment. And again, I talk about that opportunity for police to have that early intervention, and how that directly ties to solvability. So we're not always, the goal is not always, I shouldn't say it, the goal is solvability, but we also realize, and accept the reality that we're not going to solve every crime that is reported to us. The evidence is just not always going to exist. But the collation of that data is really important. So you're right, if we have 10 stolen bicycles in the municipality and they're not reported to the police, we have no awareness that there's an issue with stolen bicycles, and therefore we cannot take any proactive or crime prevention approaches to that, generating public awareness. using public information to let folks know what they can do to safeguard themselves against certain things. And you'll see it from time to time where we do have a rash of breaks into vehicles where property is stolen, or if we see an uptick in online fraud attempts or telephone fraud attempts, things like that. So as we see those trends, we typically, what we do when we start to see some of that preventable crime is we liaise with our public information officer, and we have a number of tools at our disposal to work on it from a crime prevention angle. So that's, again, another really important point why the reporting is helpful for us. It allows us to have a clearer picture of what's actually happening in community.
Sure. Thank you.
Great question, Councilor LeBlanc. Any other question to Chief Leo? And it is important, Chief Leo, that it is important. The information is important. I mean, to Councilor Nicole's point there, yes, I left the car door open. What an idiot I am. But report it anyway because your neighbor might have left their car open. They might have something stolen. And if you don't know that somebody's out there breaking into cars, then you can't do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And really, for a lot of folks, it's, again, I go back to there's many reasons. A lot of times we're dealing with carry-on offenses. So if somebody's wallet was stolen, chances are we're going to be into frauds with credit cards and debit cards, and we've built some really good partnerships, relationships over the years with a lot of businesses, especially the 24-hour businesses. A lot of using car breaks as an example, happen through the evening, and again, having that early reporting. We've had examples where the officers right away we get a rash of car breaks that happen between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and the officers have investigated these crimes often enough that they know typically what happens next. If folks come across, quantities of money or cards, those types of things, they're going to the 24-hour locations. We go, we at least notify them, or they say, yeah, we've had some folks in here making some unusual purchases. We get the video, we identify who's involved. I mean, these are all just, examples, but that's why that reporting is so valuable.
Absolutely. Any other questions to Chief Leo?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
The January occurrences for Trenton was 50, right?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
the crime statistics report that I passed around
Yeah.
has the overall occurrences for the municipality of Trenton.
And then the other sheet you had, that one there has, I'm assuming that's both New Glasgow and Trenton, 573 occurrences?
Yes, and that's for the month
Month
of
of
December. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Now, I don't know if you could answer this question, but what percentage out of that 573 would have been directed to Trenton occurrences? Do you,
We can pull the data. I can go back and easily get it, and we've done that annually, and for obviously different reasons. But we can separate the data. We can pull it, and we've made a habit of starting to, with that records management system. So where this information is being pulled from, it's a database that's referred to as PROS, which is the Police Reporting Occurrence System. It's a database that we essentially pay a user fee to the RCMP to use their database. With that system, there are purge dates on certain types of occurrences. So your less serious occurrences will start to purge, I believe, after 2 years. So we've made a habit of pulling data before it gets purged, because we've been in that unfortunate situation where we've had to learn the hard way that certain data over time will start to disappear. I mean, there's certain data on there that has lifetime retention, but.
Any other questions, Chief Leo? Okay.
Sorry, I found this interesting, and it's helpful.
Oh, no, I'm
I
happy to
found
be
this
here.
report helpful. I'm not sure which one you're calling this, sorry, but that.
Yeah, the occurrence
yeah,
statistics, yes.
I just think for something like this, for us to understand, I mean, there's like a high number of, like the mental health, the different ones that are mental health and like well-being checks and things like that. Like, I think it's helpful for us to have that understanding so that when we're going to meetings or participating in the mental health roundtable, a participation at that, or so residents understand why there's council representation at roundtables like that. Or at our last committee of the whole had a presentation from mental health as well about different resources. We talked about different talks or activities we could have in the community. So I think something like that of just more categories. I find the report hard unless you're looking at it from last month to say, okay, are we having a spike in things? And again, I'm not a police officer and don't
Right.
pretend to be. So like, and that I think something like this is a little more digestible to inform, where we should be supporting when we get requests from organizations, for example, about the targeted work. So we're actually helping people for what's needed versus, might just help make us some more informed decisions.
No, I agree, Councillor LeBlanc, and that's why I wanted to use that as an example, because I look at that report more as plain language, and I can appreciate that everyone in this room is inundated with information, and the mayor's report serves a purpose, but there are some drawbacks because you do have to kind of mine the data out of that. You have to interpret it, and also, depending on the date, one thing I'll tell you about the mayor's report, depending on the date or the day that you pull this report, the only thing that is going to stay consistent is the reported number. So the overall reported number, once the month turns over, of course, even if an offense happened in January but it's reported in February, it falls in February. The clearance rates can change day to day because, as you can appreciate, something that gets reported to the police in January, the investigation may not be concluded until February, March, April, May. So depending on when you pull this report, your clearance rates are going to change month to month, all the time. That's dynamic.
Any
But
other
if-
questions?
If preferred, to do a monthly report with that exact data, Councillor LeBlanc, that's no problem at all. And that's what I always ask, because obviously, whether it be Police Commission or Town of Glasgow Council, it's great that we can pull data in a number of different ways. We just need to ask how you would like to see the data.
I'm guessing, based on what I'm seeing here, that they prefer that report there, but I wouldn't mind having the mayor's report sent to me separately, just as a little keepsake for myself.
We can include both. That's quite easy.
Any other questions of Chief Leo? Then I thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
for having me.
presentation, right?
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very informative.
Yeah.
We're going to move on, Council, to the animal control report. And that is in your bulletin also. Any questions on the animal control report? I have one if I can. I saw that he had a report where he found a dog down by Tim Hortons, and rather than giving the lady a fine who was out looking for a dog that slipped off the leash, he just basically said, well, here's your dog. Which is a common sense approach of what should have been done anyway. So, but otherwise, any other questions on the report? Hearing none, we'll thank the Animal Control Officer for his report. And we're going to move on to council committee reports. The PCSSA, remind me what that acronym stands for, Pictou County Shared Service Authority. So we have the Pictou County Shared Service. Any questions pertaining to the minutes of November 25th, 2024? Or the Mayor's and Warden's recap meeting on January 20, 2025? I guess we can probably do them both, can we?
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe bulky waste.
Yeah, so we will note that they did have that they were putting a proposal to give a bulky weight collection. It's supposed to start on April 1st. Now, this was supposed to be put forth to all councils, and I guess it went forth to Stellarton's this week?
I believe it was in January.
Okay, so Stellarton looked at it, and Stellarton basically turned it down, right? So basically what it was is that they were going to have, in the spring cleanup, they were going to have a bulky item thrown in with your spring cleanup. It wasn't going to be picked up with your regular garbage, but it was just going to be an item you could throw out that, you know, like a barbecue or something along those lines. a
Every
TV.
collection period.
Every? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So what was the name? Anyway, so it won't be picked up basically on that particular garbage day. They're going to send another truck around. It was going to cost $1.25 per item for household, and they basically wanted everybody involved. It was either, my understanding was either an all or nothing. Either we're all in, or we're not doing it at all. And Stellarton last month decided that they didn't want it.
Is that some sort of spring cleanup thing? Is that?
More or less.
So instead of the regular, there's still gonna be a spring cleanup now, because, it was looking at a different way of doing that spring cleanup. So instead of this mass exodus of items from your house every spring, for one collection period, it would be one bulky item per every collection period. And it will be a cost to the town of $1.25 for every item that was picked up, because it was only one item per household. And of course, there would be the tipping fees, the cost of what that was. And it wouldn't be on the same day as your garbage pickup, because they would have to note which homes had that bulky item, and then bring another truck around to pick up that bulky item. So it could be maybe, it could be sitting there on the side of the road for 2 or 3 days. And we can't determine that. So, and how much would that cost the town, right? Because it's not once a year for that, for the cleanup. It would be every time, every 2 weeks, there could be bulky items at the end of someone's driveway for pickup.
Sounds very confusing.
So it was an all or nothing approach. So continue with the spring cleanup, or if it was going to revert to one bulky item per household for every single pickup period, all units had to agree on this. So, and Stellarton has agreed, or has already made the decision not to be part of that. So it's sort of a moot point. We're just going to be doing a spring cleanup. But the other item
that's
of
better.
note is, starting April 1st, they're going to go to a 4-day collection period from Tuesday to Friday. So however the routes are going to be changing, or if it's going to affect any, and which residents it's going to affect, they will be notified. So that is going to be moving forward to a 4-day collection period, Tuesday to Friday, not a Monday to Friday.
So where Friday pickup may change, and if it does,
We'll
you're
be
likely,
notified.
you're likely going to get some phone calls on it.
Right. But we don't know yet. Yes.
So any other thoughts or questions on those two reports? Well, the minutes and the Mayor's and Wards recap. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda. For information only, we have the Health Pictou County December to January 2025 report. We have the Pictou County Partnership third quarter report. We have the Pictou County Partnership Rural Community Immigration Pilot. Riverview Home Corporation, thank you. Riverview Home newsletter for December 2024. And then NSFM U.S. tariffs concerns. Now, that's a lot. That is a lot for information only. Anybody have any questions or concerns on any of those things that I just read? And we can do them one at a time if you like. Anybody? Alana, can you give us a quick update just from myself on this rural community immigration pilot? Right.
Yes, so there was actually going to be a bit of an announcement on that from the Pictou County Partnership, I believe last week, and that was postponed. So, so we're waiting on that. Can you speak to that, Nicole?
Yeah, I think they're preparing a memo for councils. They're just finalizing it. That'll have what it is, how to direct people, everything.
The details of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're thinking that'll be here in the next week or two?
They're just finalizing it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Now. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions on all of those reports? Here, and then we'll move on from recommendation to the committee of the whole. I believe that would be you, Deputy Mayor.
All right. The following recommendations are for our consideration from the Committee of the Whole meeting on January 28th. Recommendation number 1, on the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, Council approve the commitment from the town of Trenton to pay 1/6 towards a regional strategy request from Viola's Place, which has a total cost of $13,000 plus HST. So we need a motion if you want to.
Well, I need somebody to move that report, that recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor LeBlanc, I need a seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Cullen, any questions on the recommendation? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion is carried. Go on there.
Recommendation number 2, on recommendation of Committee of the Whole, Council approve updates to policy number admin 202502-01, disposal of surplus property policy. And you'll need a motion.
I'll need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Stephanie? Councillor McKenna, that is. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor LeBlanc, any questions on the recommendation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Recommendation number 3, on recommendation of Committee of the Whole, Council approve updates to policy number admin 20250211-02, the employee wellness policy. And we'll need a motion for that.
Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Cullen, I need a seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor McKinnon, any questions on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to new business. TBR, storm sewer separation. Alana, will you explain the,
I certainly can, Mayor Dove. So the 7th Street Storm Sewer Separation Project is now complete. That was approved in our current fiscal year budget, that there was significant funding on that project with ICIP funding, $784,000, and Sustainable Service Growth Fund money of $340,000. What we had budgeted for this project was 1.494 and change. We came in under budget on that project, and we actually were able to do a little more on the project as well. So it was a successful project. So the total cost of the project is estimated right now at 1.324, down from 1.494. So Council had approved that we would pay for the difference between the total cost of the project minus the funding that we received towards this project. So we need to borrow for that remaining funds, which comes in at about $200,000. So I have a temporary borrowing resolution for the storm sewer separation project to submit to the province. So I am looking for a motion of council to approve that under the authority of Section 66 of the Municipal Government Act, the council for the town of Trenton borrow a sum not exceeding $200,000 for the purpose set out above, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
so we need a mover for that motion.
I'll move for that motion.
Councillor Cullen, we need a seconder for that motion.
I'll second.
Scott, any questions on the motion?
Is this the money that's just going to finish what was done on 7th Street? Is that-
The 200,000
Yeah.
is the cost to the town for phase 1 of the project that was approved in this fiscal year's budget. Yes. So out of the total cost of the project of $1.324 million, the town pays $200,000 of that. We borrow for that.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Alana. All right, let's do the round table. I think we're all done here, are we not? Check the camera stuff.
We'll have a quick encounter.
Yep. All right, so we'll just do a quick round table. Let's start with Councilor McKenna. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. May I go to Councilor Cullen then? Sorry.
Gonna mix it up a little bit.
I attended Riverview Home Corporation meeting, and they're moving along with their remedy report, and everything, they're almost ahead in schedule, so it's a reward.
Thank you.
We
Councilor
had
Kramer.
our first accessibility meeting, and Walter Smith took chair of that committee. And just, I want to say today, I was out at the rink about 4 o'clock, and who was coming in but someone in a wheelchair. And it took quite a push to get them up over the bottom of the door. And so the committee is going to be looking at that, the rink access, and making it easier for anyone that has accessibility problems. So, but it was good to see that myself. They were trying to push in and had to give it quite a shove, and barely room to get in with the doors. And hopefully we'll get the punch so they can use the automatic door openers.
That's great. That's great that you, again, it's hard to realize exactly what they're going through unless you're actually in that wheelchair and somebody's behind trying to get you over that hump. But I think that we've applied for grants.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
we
is-
have.
there is
Yes.
some grants.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's proved that. Thank you. Anything else there?
No, that's it.
Go to you. Councilor LeBlanc.
I attended Fun Fest, but I'll let maybe Councillor Cullen report on it, because I had to leave through a portion of it for the School Advisory Council. But the School Advisory Council is just looking on an update on the location selection process. I said I would bring that to council. This is me bringing it to council. So I'm sure more than the School Advisory Council, would like that. So I promised I would bring that up and see if we can prompt or prod as required. The second one is a 80th anniversary to the Connect Club of New Glasgow. I thought 50, so I need my eyes checked, but it's 80, so that's a big congrats to the Connect Club. And it's also Resident Awareness Week, so we have family medicine residents that practice in the community and provide care too. So just wanted to give a shout out and thanks to our family medicine residents that we have and the preceptors that support them.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's it.
Councilor LeBlanc. Councilor Cullen.
Yeah, oh, I guess I'll start off, yeah, I'll start off with Fun Fest. We had a meeting yesterday. There's going to be call for volunteer meeting. Wrote it down for Monday, March 3rd at 6:30 p.m. at the Annex. Walter Smith again has taken on the chair responsibilities for that. Looks like status quo from last year. Last year was pretty successful. So, a lot of the same events are just going to happen. Might be a couple new things pop up, which I'm not at liberty to discuss right now. But I don't know. I think it's looking pretty good. So, couple other things. So I did attend the police commission meeting yesterday. Constable Ken McDonald mentioned basically community policing efforts, bringing back old traditional crime prevention type of service, community, what's the word, traditional programs are just kind of making their way back. Things like senior safety, they're bringing that back. What else was it? Youth Explorers. So that's something that Constable Ken is looking into. It's a youth group for it's a group for teens that are interested in learning more about policing. They meet every Tuesday night, so they're from 6:30 to 9 p.m. age 15 to 22, and the reason he said it goes to 22 is because students from St. FX are able to get university credit for attending this program, so they've extended the age. So I think they're looking at the first week of April of bringing that back, or for having regular meetings there. So also, I attended Healthy Pictou County, new to the crew. I was on Wednesday, February 5th at Simply Golf. I Drummond Road in Westville. I don't know if a lot of people know, but it's the old Air Cadet Hall in Westville. They have a 9-hole mini golf course. It's all black lights and all neon paint. It's really neat. It was a good little gathering for people that didn't grow up in Pictou County. They're new to Pictou County. I met people from BC, from Newfoundland, from Calgary. Someone from Brazil was there. People from Toronto. So it was a good mix of people. And yeah, Simply Golf. And if you didn't know, they got a golf simulator, and they got. Alec, you'd want to know that you can play the course at Inverness, the golf simulator up there. So, well, you just go up to Westville and they got it for you. Yeah. And also the 144 construction engineers are recruiting. They have paid trades training. So if you want to get into a trade, they will pay you and then pay for your course to get plumbing, electrical, carpentry, and that kind of stuff. So if you want to get paid to get educated, that's I believe they meet on Thursday evenings. Yeah. Well, it was a busy week.
Great reports from all of you. So
Yeah.
I will report that I had a quick conversation with Craig over developing a pickleball club here in Trenton when we get our new pickleball courts down there. So that there's a lot of excitement around pickleball in Pictou County. I play it a lot myself. So the other thing is that I got an email today about a Canada virtual listening tour scheduled for February 20th here. Right. So I'd imagine we're all going to get a link to that, but they only want, I think, one of us to actually listen in and provide input. That's February 20th from 2 to 3:30 Atlantic time. So that's another thing. And we got a letter from Minister Lohr via email, and he's looking for our support with either a letter or some other form of support about the interventional trade barriers and resource development here in Pictou County or in Nova Scotia. So that's something else for us to consider also. So that is enough for me. How about you, young man? Would you?
Me?
Yes.
Learned a lot.
Right. Anything like to bring up before council?
Well, this is the first time my vote never went to waste. Every one of you are up there that I voted for.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any thoughts or ideas for us?
Not really right now. I just kind of thought I'd come in and see what the whole business is about.
Okay.
You know, and impressed.
Okay. Thank you.
I didn't come down to really speak, so.
We generally run a round table when we're done at the end of council meetings, asking anybody in the audience if they'd like to speak. I didn't put you on the spot.
I understand. There might be a couple things I might want to bring up a little later, but not tonight.
Absolutely awesome. So with that, the council meeting is over. Wow, we're going in camera, which means thank you for coming to our meeting, but you can't sit around for this one.
I got a lot of my friends here tonight.
Thank you for coming in.
No